Hello, everyone. Richard Keck here with All Things Fantasy Football. It's been a minute since we've had a video put out. Didn't want to get too ahead of ourselves with potential injuries by doing a preseason ranking, only to find out that the players were injured and the rankings were going to change 2 days after I did the rankings. So waited a minute to get them out till now. We've had a couple big injuries. We'll discuss how those affect the rankings and and who they affected. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's start off by saying that we're doing this for the DRF league, and we've got all the drafts in place, all the rookie drafts, the free agent pickups through the auction style. All that is complete, and now we're going to rank them all from 14 to 1 in order of how they're going to do this year. That doesn't take into account necessarily their dynasty value, because there's a couple teams I think that have done really well in building long-term value, but might not actually be in a contender this year. And we'll get to those in a moment. Second thing I want to say is that this league has gotten very competitive. At least you can look at almost any team in the league and say that they've done something that has increased their dynasty value. So I think this league as a whole, compared to the other ones that I'm in, has got it from top to bottom as far as starting to get the pieces and the know-how to do this format. For those of you that don't, one of my future videos that'll be coming out next week will be a how to do a rebuild. We've got one team in this league that's already working on that and following that formula already, and we'll get to that in a second. So without further ado, let's start off with the 14th ranked team in this year, the 2021 season, and that is Unlike Hernandez, and that's good old Shane Wiggins. And Shane has still a decent lineup to be able to put out every week, but the big thing for Shane is his dynasty value for the future. He has, I believe, 8 first-round draft picks in 23. He has probably only one now, because I think he made a trade yesterday that sent one to get him Kenny Galladay, which, you know, some people like, some people didn't like. I didn't hate the trade necessarily, because Kenny Galladay is probably worth a first-round draft pick. And I'm not a fan of Darrell Henderson. I don't think he's going to hold up in the long term. Case in point, they went out and got Sony Michel, so they don't even believe that he's going to make it for the long term. So now they got 2 guys with broke knees and trying to get by the season after losing Cam Akers. But Kenny Galladay is definitely a nice piece that he can hold on for the future. Gave up that first-round draft pick to get him. But when you look at Wiggins' team, he's got Tom Brady. Tom Brady, they're projecting potentially could have his best season ever. I mean, at his age, it's hard to imagine that. But if you think about last year, it took him like 5 games to get his rhythm going with a new team. He's got that same team, those same players, and he doesn't have that 5-game jitters to get going. So threw 40 touchdowns last year. I mean, the sky's the limit. He can end up throwing, again, 40, 45 again this year. So, Tom Brady's definitely going to be a nice focal point for Wiggins and the Unlike Hernandez team. As far as like piecing together a lineup, again, not guys that are going to blow your socks off. Naheem Hines, Devin Singletary at the running back position. It's got some future guys in Kenneth Gainwell. Giovanni Bernard might be a nice play this year for a few games because they're going to throw the ball out of the backfield, and the other guys in training camp are dropping the ball left and right. So they're saying Giovanni Bernard is looking really good in training camp. Odell Beckham, Kenny Galladay, as mentioned before. You got John Brown in there, Jameson Crowder. So he's going to be able to put in a decent lineup with Robert Tonyan at tight end. So decent lineup, but it's not for this year. His focus is on the future, and he's got a couple guys on the taxi squad: Kyle Trask, Terrence Marshall, Dwayne Eskridge. He's got some guys there that potentially could be something. Ton of draft picks. So Wiggins comes in at the 14th spot, and not without saying I still like what Wiggins has done with this roster in a rebuild mode. So got Wiggins down at 14. The 13th spot, we got Stop Order, and again, that's another team in a rebuild. And he also went out of his way to grab some players that he can start this year to put up a decent lineup. Nobody full on tanked it as far as like have a start, has a crap lineup start. Nobody's an easy out this year. And Stop Order has some draft picks, has some young players. He's got Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones at quarterback, both of them young. Definitely guys that you can build on in the future. The running back spot, we've got Chase Edmonds, Myles Gaskin, David Johnson, who's not young, but definitely a nice piece for this year, so that he's not an easy out. But Gaskin's been getting all the touches, and if he continues to do that, he'll be a nice play guy for them going forward. At the wide receiver spot, a bunch of guys outside of Tyler Lockett that don't knock your socks off. We got Michael Gallup, Deshaun Jackson, Alan Lazard, Tim Patrick, Josh Reynolds, bunch of guys that you just gonna have to play the matchups. And he at least can put in a nice lineup. If you looked at the team a few weeks ago, it wasn't looking so stellar. Made a few trades, got some players. So he's actually got some guys that he can build on. Definitely this team is still in a rebuild mode, needs to hold on to their draft picks as much as possible in order to do that. So that's the 13th spot. Stop Order, Ken Bond, Stop Order, 13. The 12th spot, we have Here Goes Nothing. Silliman's got the old Here Goes Nothing team coming in at the 12th spot, a team that's made the playoffs like almost every year. He's always in the hunt. Team that's got some aging guys, Matt Ryan, T.Y. Hilton, Manuel Sanders. Some of those guys are getting up there in age and need to be replaced. Has some couple young quarterbacks in Wentz and Goff, but as we know, neither one of those are great options, but they're not terrible options. They're starting options. They're going to play once Wentz gets back. Hopefully Wentz plays week 1. I've heard that that's even a potential right now, but if not, he's got Matt Ryan and Goff. He's not hurting at the position at all. Running back, Zach Moss. If Zach Moss quits being a little baby and grabs that ball and goes, he is definitely the best running back on that roster. He's just got to grab that ball and run with it. Ronald Jones, same thing with him. The best back on the Buccaneers, but you got to hang on to the ball. You got to take your opportunity and run with it. And if either one of those guys can step up, that'll give him a nice running back option. If they both do, definitely he'll outplay his position here at the 12th spot. So a couple of the good spots that he has on his roster, along with those aging Sanders and Cooks and Hilton. He's got Rashad Bateman and Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. We all know how good he is, and then of course Cortland Sutton coming back from an injury. He's got some running back or wide receiver depth here. It's not a team that's going to score a boatload of points, but again, this is not an easy out. I mean, if you have to face a lineup of Matt Ryan and Jones and Moss, along with McLaurin, Sutton, and like a Brandon Cooks or something like that, that's not an easy out for any team. You got to come and you got to play your best roster. Jared Cook at tight end, he's aging, but he's going to be in a San Diego offense that's going to throw the football. So he's definitely got a chance to put up some points there as well. Another team in a rebuild need to start holding on to those young pieces and move on from them older pieces. If you're not in contention, acquire as many draft picks as possible. This is a team that I have down here at 12. If they made the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised because he's made it almost every year. But I think eventually the years on some of these players are going to catch up to him. Jacoby Meyers, another one that stands out that might be a good play this year. So he's got options. The options are there. He won't hurt for a lineup. It's just a matter of whether or not they can actually come through in the clutch. There are some really good teams in this league this year, and you're going to see that as we get closer to the top of what they are. So that's the 12th spot, and that is Silliman coming in at 12. The number 11 spot was a team that last year battled for division along with myself, Chicago, and Motor City. That's straight out of Tomlin, Nate Jones. And putting him here has a lot to do with a couple different players on the roster that just carry a little uncertainty and the lack of a depth. There's not a lot of depth. There's not a lot of draft picks. Nate's definitely got to find a way to hold on to some draft picks or maybe to acquire some more if possible. He's got Desean Watson. Don't even know if he's going to play this year. So that leaves him playing Ben Roethlisberger, who in his own right could be a really good player this year. The problem is, can he stay healthy? Can he feed those wide receivers constantly throughout the season without getting pounded and taking too much and getting hurt? Because outside of that, those are the only two quarterbacks on the roster. So, you don't get Desean Watson. You have Roethlisberger, who may or may not be healthy. That's a lot of uncertainty, and you're not going to win many games if you don't have a quarterback. We all know that. Running back spot, got Leonard Fournette. Again, a guy I think could have a really good year. I think the Tampa Bay offense in general is going to blow up. So Leonard Fournette, as long as he's catching the ball, definitely could be one of those guys that benefits from Tom Brady going forward this year. Najee Harris already looks good, and Nate loves him so much he went out and got him just about every league he was in. So he's all in on Najee Harris. So you got Najee Harris with Fournette, got James Conner in Arizona, who I think I heard is in a 60-40 split there with what's his name for the starting job. Well, even 40% of the touches is going to amount for a good amount of points for our scoring system. So that's definitely not terrible. Those are the only key running backs. Got a bunch of backups and wannabes, and Le'Veon Bell and Boston Scott, Todd Gurley. If one of those catches on, you might be able to get some points somewhere, but literally it's probably going to come down to Fournette, Connor, and Harris. Wide receiver wise, we got Hopkins and Juju, maybe a little Marvin Jones sprinkled in there. Maybe some Nelson Aguilar. Not a whole lot to be excited about there, but Hopkins definitely is exciting. Juju is going to be decent as long as Roethlisberger is decent, and he goes down, that literally destroys this team. When you lose Juju, Harris is all of a sudden going to be have the box stacked on him. So a lot rides on Ben Roethlisberger for this year for this roster. That's why we got him down to number 11. Dalton Schultz at tight end. If he plays, they got the other guy back this year, so you never know who's going to play. Gerald Everett might be a nice play for Seattle. Not much on the taxi squad, so teams got to start holding on to draft picks. Again, you're going to hear me say that for the 14, 13, 12, 11, all those guys got to hold on to them draft picks, especially the first round draft picks, as much as possible. In general, this kind of league and this kind of format, if you're a top team, you're using your draft picks to get that extra player to knock off the other top teams. And if you're a bottom team, you're trading that older, guy that's blowing up, the Adam Thielen, something like that. Adam Thielen is blowing up. You trade him, you get a couple first round draft picks. If you can. If you can only get one, you get one. You get what you can get out of him, because he's getting older and not going to give you that quality in the next couple of years, especially if you're rebuilding. If Wiggins is setting himself up for 2023, a guy who's 29, 30, 31 years old isn't going to help him in 2023. Those are the guys you trade. So talk about that more on another video, but all these lower end teams got to hold on to those draft picks. So that's a big key. So that's the number 11 team, Nate Jones and the straight out of Tomlin team. Move on to number 10. And number 10 is the team that is called Show Me the Money. Jared Barton took over, was in the league before, had a really good team, left, came in and took over. Not such a good team, but he's made lots of moves this year. Lots of trades, lots of, moves up, and acquired lots of players, lots of picks, all that kind of stuff. So one of the biggest keys that pickups that he's had was getting AJ Brown in a recent trade. Stellar. I don't even care what you gave up to get him. I don't think the trade was unfair in any way, shape, or form. He made that with DRF Peterman. Peterman got Godwin, a couple other things. I don't remember what the trade was, but it definitely wasn't an unfair trade at all. But I like AJ Brown. AJ Brown to me is a top 2 or 3 overall wide receiver. And if you can get a guy like that, you grab him, you hold on to him. And that was a good pickup for Barton for the future. He's got he's got a couple really young quarterbacks in Justin Fields and Mac Jones. I love me some Justin Fields. I'm sure all of you guys have saw my post. I've got sticker in my car. The jersey's going to be coming here soon. Love me some Justin Fields. So I definitely like that stash on the taxi squad. Mac Jones, can't stash them both on the taxi squad, I guess, because otherwise you don't have a second quarterback. So needs one of these guys to play sooner or later. But Ryan Tannehill's bye week's week 13. So I think by then we'll have a handle on either Mac Jones or Justin Fields playing. So that'll be good for them. The running back position, got a couple of young guys, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, both out of North Carolina. Remember my videos in the past, I had them both ranked pretty high on the rookie draft. It's got them both on here. Not a lot past that. I mean, you got Melvin Gordon, who's gonna produce this year. Long term, not a guy that's going to save your franchise, but definitely, I mean, that makes this team already not an easy out when you're starting two starting rookie running backs and Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams and Gordon both are Denver. Maybe you play them both, maybe you don't. But at least you're going to get the starter. You're going to get that guy no matter what. Then you look at the wide receiver position, as stated, AJ Brown is already your number one. Trades also from Amari Cooper. So, and then trades also earlier in the year for Curtis Samuel. So I love everything that this team has done. I don't think they have the horses to go the distance, but I mean, it's already on the way to a nice rebuild. Blake Jarwin coming back, nice tight end, Tyler Higbee, good. Spent $40 at the position to get the two tight ends. So you definitely hope one of those is panning out. And then if something happens like to Christian McCaffrey, you got Chuba Hubbard sitting on your taxi squad. That's a guy who can walk into an RB1 position right away with an injury. Not that I'm definitely wishing McCaffrey to get injured, because I got him all over the place. But a team that maybe doesn't have the depth, but it's got a nice starting lineup. Not an easy out for anybody. So you got to watch out for Barton at the number 10 spot, the show me the money. Number 9 spot, moving up the board, I have Bergie with the show me your TDs, which was Barton's old team name, but now Bergie's walked in, taking over that. Bergie's team's hard to keep up with. It's trading a lot, pieces are moving all over the place. If I'd have done this rankings a month ago, 2 weeks ago, now the rankings would have been different each time, because he is all over the board. He has some really nice pieces that I like. Especially for a young team that's rebuilding. He's got a lot of young pieces. Josh Allen, for sure. I mean, probably he was the QB1 last year in the league, point-wise, scoring over 500 points for our format. I mean, if you get a guy that scores like 340, that's good. He's 160 points more than that. So Josh Allen was just huge last year. Probably is going to be huge this year. Not a lot of depth behind him. Derek Carr, okay. You need him for 1 week, whatever. Josh Allen, as long as he doesn't get hurt, is going to be an absolute stud again. Running back wise, we got Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake, both on the same roster. I'm not a fan of that, necessarily having both those guys, but I like Jacobs. So the bottom line is you got the guy that's going to start, and anything happens to him, you got the guy that's going to come in. So that's not bad. Miles Sanders, also a nice trade acquisition they just got. I think everybody's got by trade. Miles Sanders, I'm not in love with Miles Sanders, but everybody keeps falling off. I mean, you lost Kerryon Johnson. Everyone else is just not looking so sharp. So Miles Sanders he's going to have the opportunity. And with opportunity comes the chance to be a fantasy star. And so you add Jacobs and Sanders together. That could be a real nice combo. Trey Sermon's a nice 3. Because we all know that 49ers don't use just one running back. They're gonna plug them. They're gonna play them. They're all gonna get used. They're all gonna have a chance and an opportunity. The wide receiver position, you got Julio Jones is the guy that stands out as probably the top option for the team. But there's a whole lot of other guys that could produce. Not expecting like 250 point receivers. Julio might be the only one that has a chance to eclipse that mark, but there's lots of guys that can contribute. You play them all in the right situation. That's when you cash in on them. Look at Diami Brown, sorry. he's already looked explosive in preseason. And Marcus Callaway, I mean, if anyone saw the other day, the Saints, that's when Jameis Winston, to me, locked up his starting job. If he doesn't get the starting job, then the Saints have no idea what they're doing, because Jameis Winston is a starting quarterback in the NFL. We've all known that even when he went there. It was just a matter of time. And him and Marcus Callaway have that connection already. Marcus Callaway, especially if you're in any kind of best ball draft, make sure you grab Marcus Callaway, because he throws the ball deep. And, Jameis Winston's always done that, thrown that ball deep, and he likes Callaway. So Callaway is a nice spot there. Devonte Parker. Devonte Parker, I've never been a fan of. He had one really good year and made me look like a fool when I had him ranked really low. But every year he just keeps, since then, he's nothing special. Not a guy I want, but he'll get you some points. He'll get you a few points. He'll have a few games where it blows things up. But even if you don't want to go with Devonte Parker, he has Jalen Waddle on this roster. And that might be the guy that eventually pushes Parker right out of the clubhouse, get him right out of Miami altogether. Because if Jalen Waddle blows up, put him with Julio, put him with Callaway. This team, again, another team that's not an easy out. There are no easy outs in this league this year compared to the last couple of years. Guys, you look ahead and you're like, I can't wait to play. Well, Edlinger, I mean, I guess he's an easy out. But there's a few other guys. Randall Cobb might do something. You never know. So tight end's got the spot locked up pretty good with TJ Hawkinson. Cole Kmet's a backup, nothing special, but Hawkinson's definitely going to still get the ball. The Lions are going to have a lot of dink and dunks, I have a feeling. They don't have a great receiving core. So, I think Hawkinson's going to have a nice year, probably his best year yet. So that's the number 9 spot with the show me your TDs for Bergie. Number 8, we have Shane Peterman in the future DRF team. Shane's made a lot of trades also. Whether you like him or don't, he's made his team younger. He's made his team a little bit deeper. Some of those trades were questioned by a lot of people, but they weren't unfair. They were just showing the direction of how he wanted this team to look like. And the direction he wanted to go obviously is young and a little deeper, and maybe not, traded off like an AJ Brown. And I think he also had Amari Cooper also. Both those guys moved on, and he's got some younger, nice pieces to play. At the quarterback spot, we've got Baker Mayfield, and he has both Saints quarterbacks. So he's got that covered, which is nice, which I think is going to be Jameis Winston. But you got the backup just in case. So definitely has the quarterback spot locked up. Running back, we got Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon. Very nice, nice combo for the two. Aaron Jones only $5, stud running back at super cheap. Another running back I like on the roster is Ramondre Stevenson. Looked really good in the preseason. They got rid of Sony Michel. Stevenson, his value just went up. There's not a lot of running backs that they're going to use there. Who else are they going to use? Sony's gone. So they're going to use Harris there, and then they're going to use Stevenson, maybe a little James White sprinkled in. But definitely that's a guy that's moved up. Raheem Mostert, he's getting up there in age, but he's still the guy for now. So he's literally running a good solid 4 deep at the running back position right now for this year. As far as depth goes, this might be the second deepest team as far as starting options in the entire league, other than our team that we'll mention later. Wide receiver wise, has easily 4 to 5 nice starters at the position. Brandon Ayuk out of the 49ers, Tyler Boyd, Chris Godwin, Laviscus Chenault, and then Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, whatever one of those turns out to be the good guy. I like Elijah Moore. I think I've vocalized that a couple times on here. So definitely lots of starting options. Henry Ruggs, another one that you can play. Quintus Cephas, however you say his name for their Detroit. Somebody has to catch the ball as a Lion. Maybe not very many, but somebody has to catch the ball. So it might as well be him. Starting at tight end, we got Logan Thomas on this team. Got Ferkser and Jonnu Smith. So definitely deep at that position as well. So team is very deep. It's not stud starred with, your 250 point getters, but there's a whole lot of 180 point getters. So definitely a team that could outplay its spot here. At 8, you're right on the cusp of the playoffs, working your way in and trying to get up the ladder. Injuries happen, as injuries happen to other teams that aren't as deep. Future DRF might be moving up the ladder into the playoffs and getting wins that other teams aren't getting because they're not as deep. So that's the 8-team future DRF and Shane Peterman. The number 7 spot, we have Paxi at the St. John's. St. John's River Rats. And definitely another team that can outplay his position. He's got some really good wide receivers, and that's what, I did this plugged everybody's team into this rate my team type thing, and they said that his is all about the wide receivers. So before we get to that, let's talk about his quarterbacks: Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford, I think, is going to have a fantastic year. Zach Wilson, sitting there. Team is loaded at the position. Stafford's a little older, but got quite a few years left, and the other two are very young. So a position he doesn't have to worry about for probably quite a few years after this one. Running back wise, we had the Damien Harris that we were talking about earlier, whose value also just went up with Sony Michel going to the Rams, and Nick Chubb. So you're running that combination of that 1-2 guy, and not a lot of depth beyond that. A lot of backups. Like DJ Dallas, Tariq Cohen, Damian Williams, guys that are backups that could get a little more playing time as injuries occur. But for the time being, it's a shallow depth of backfield for the River Rats. Wide receivers, though, that we talked about earlier. I mean, let's start off right off the gate with Stephon Diggs. Probably if not the number 2 wide receiver behind Devonta Adams. He's right up there in the top 3 or 4. Last year, he just blew it out of the water right along with Josh Allen. The duo was unstoppable, put up a ton of points, and everybody in this league is kicking themselves now because Paxi was trying to give him away for a ham sandwich a couple of years ago when he was like $15 and nobody bid on it. And I am definitely one of those ones that's kicking my ass for not taking advantage of grabbing that guy when we had the chance. Sometimes the best trades you make or don't make are the ones, or the best trades that are made are the ones that you don't make. And Paxi actually dodged a bullet by not trading Stephon Diggs on that one. Mike Evans also on the roster. Darnell Mooney, who I absolutely love this year. Darnell Mooney had 114 points last year, and that's in limited playing time with terrible quarterback play. So, he stretches the field. He's fast, and watch out for Darnell Mooney. Devonta Smith could walk in as a rookie as the number 1 receiver for the Eagles. Another guy like Jarvis Landry. So, I mean, this team is loaded at the wide receiver position. So definitely the lack of running back depth doesn't even matter. All you do is start 1, start 4 receivers. Gesicki and Goddard at the tight end spot. I've got a couple other tight ends on the taxi squad. So, those 2 starters are definitely good enough to get you by. You start them, the young quarterback, 1 running back, 4 receivers. And this team is definitely borderline playoff, going to be fighting with a 6, 7, 8, 9. Those guys are going to be battling this year. There's even a couple teams I have higher who could drop. And the only reason I have them higher is because of their star-studded lineups that they have, but they're also very not as deep as these teams that we've mentioned at 7 and 8. So a couple of those injuries up there, these 2 guys, Future and St. John's move up and take those spots. So that's at St. John's at 7. The 6th spot, we have Belichick. We have Chad Depew at 6. And Belichick has been injury riddled all last year, losing McCaffrey, losing Michael Thomas, losing George Kittle. So injury riddled, and starts right off this year with losing Michael Thomas again. So cannot catch a break as far as that goes. Had no quarterback all last year, had to fight that thing. this year went out and grabbed Kirk Cousins to go with Tua, also drafted Trey Lance. So the quarterback problems hopefully are solved for this team. They've got the guys that they can put in there and not have to worry about that position for a minute. Christian McCaffrey's coming back. He's looking good. They say he's 110%. I expect a big year out of Christian McCaffrey. So if big year out of Christian McCaffrey, that guy's worth a player and a half to 2 players, depending on how well he does. So, if he's worth a player and a half and he blows up, that's a nice spot you're ahead at already. So Christian McCaffrey, and then now Mike Davis, who was the backup to Christian McCaffrey last year, now has his own starting gig in Atlanta. So while I'm not a firm believer that Mike Davis is a long-term solution, he is a solution for the right now. And now that you get to start, instead of McCaffrey or Davis, you get to start both. So now he's got 2 starting running backs that he gets to play right out of the gate. And along that gets to play some decent wide receivers. Michael Thomas isn't out for the year. Hopefully it's not like it was last year. He's out 4, then out again. So Michael Thomas will come back. And at that time, he'll join receivers like Cooper Kupp, Will Fuller, Gabriel Davis, even Cole Beasley. They all look good. Kadarius Toney for the Giants, another guy that I think could be decent. But I think until Michael Thomas comes back, it's going to be Fuller, Davis, and Cooper Kupp. So, add those to McCaffrey and Mike Davis. George Kittle still top 3 tight end. I think he's the 3rd tight end now, instead of being the number 1 or the number 2. But still a top 3 tight end. And after the big 3, it's a huge drop off after that. So the number 6 spot, Belichick finally, hopefully he can get Michael Thomas back and avoid some of those injuries that have just crippled him the last couple of years. Still made the playoffs, but even with all those injuries, was still able to make the playoffs. So the team definitely puts up some points. And if Christian McCaffrey alone is going to boost his point total immensely. So that's the number 6 team, Belichick, Chad Pugh. Number 5 team, shock to a lot of you that I even have him this high, but it's the Motorboaters team. And it's a real shock to you when I could tell you that he lost one of his starting running backs, Travis Etienne, to a season-ending injury. So, why do I have him this high? Number 1, Dak Prescott's back. I think Dak Prescott was on the precipice of having a monster season last year. He has crazy weapons that he's going to throw to. Dak Prescott's going to be a top 3, top 4 quarterback if he stays healthy. And I believe that he can stay healthy. I think that injury was kind of a fluke injury, and I think he's back. The problem with the Motorboaters is been injuries every year. Every year he holds on to his draft picks. Every year he gets a top player in the draft, and every year they get hurt. And then this year started off no different, losing Etienne for the season. But he still gets to start Saquon Barkley and J.K. Dobbins, who I think both are going to have monster seasons. Barkley's had that history of injuries, hasn't played a full season yet. J.K. Dobbins now finally gets the reins to himself. I think we're going to see Dobbins explode. So those two, along with Dak already, I mean, that's a huge jump. Calvin Ridley at wide receiver, no Julio. And when Julio wasn't there, he excelled in those games as well. So Calvin Ridley, another guy that's going to blow up. Allen Robinson, he's on the franchise tag, and now he's got a quarterback to throw to him, and he wants a payday. He's on that franchise tag, so he wants a payday. So you got Allen Robinson, you got Calvin Ridley, you got Dobbins, you got Barkley, you got Prescott. All those guys I think are going to have huge seasons. Still got a couple decent tight ends in Ertz and Ingram to put up some reasonable points. That other spot, you're plugging and playing a couple guys. You might be looking at a Jalen Hurd potentially, or an Adam Humphries. Paris Campbell might be another one. Definitely what hurt him was losing Etienne. Gus Edwards is another guy that I think can vulture quite a bit of touchdowns and stuff. Might even start both of them. Sammy Watkins, another guy that could start. So the team definitely has issues that could blow this team up and knock him right out of the playoffs again for another season with injuries. But if they're playing right, playing healthy, then this has some of the most explosive players in the league on one roster. So that's why I have him up as high as 5. Again, call me crazy, and that's okay. Another issue for the motorboaters is staying up on the free agent wire. You got the opportunity, you got all these players. You need to go out and use your free agent dollars and grab those guys that are going to help you win. So, Zach, get up on it and stay on the free agent wire. Number 5, motorboaters. Number 4 is another one you might be surprised I have up this high, is Farrell and the chaos team that he has. I don't know if you guys have looked at this team, but the team is looking quite amazing to me. Quarterback position, got Justin Herbert. He's probably not even going to start. Probably going to start Aaron Rodgers for the most part, because he's got a chip on his shoulder and he's going to be ready to play. If anyone doesn't expect Aaron Rodgers to blow up, I can't believe I'm even saying this with Edlinger in this league, but Aaron Rodgers is going to blow up, and we all know it. Rodgers, Herbert, and then a Fitzpatrick too. His team is loaded at the quarterback position. There is no worries going forward for this year. A couple of years down the road, we've got a couple older guys there. He'll have to draft another younger one in the coming years or whatever. But for right now, loaded. Running back position, there is probably no backfield as good as Chaos in the entire league. My backfield is good. I think his is better. Derrick Henry, who 317 points last year, just blew up. Antonio Gibson and Austin Eckler, both big time pass catchers out of the backfield, and we get points for that. So between those 3 alone, he's going to start all 3. All 3 of them are expected, to be top 7, 8 running backs, and he's got 3 of them. He's also got Sony Michel, just got traded to the Rams, so his value just went up. So he's sitting 4 deep, easy at the running back spot. Can easily start 3 any given week. Wide receiver, got a ton of talent all over the board. Adam Thielen's the old guy on the team, still a 200 point receiver, and they really only have 2 wide receivers in Minnesota, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. After that, who are they starting? I can't even tell you the third receiver. I can, but I'm not giving away everything. But Adam Thielen definitely is going to blow up again. Probably have another 8 to 10 touchdowns again. Then you add in with guys like Chase Claypool, DJ Chark, Robbie Anderson, Mike Williams, Deebo Samuel. I mean, he is loaded at the position. He is never going to, he's only got to start 2 on any given week when he's got 3 running backs, other than bye week. When you got a bye week, you might have to plug and play somebody, but very nice team he's got here. Very deep, lots of explosive players, best backfield in the league, decent, really good quarterbacks, probably going to be a top 2 or 3 quarterback this year. Tight end position, you're starting Gronkowski or Hunter Henry, depending if Henry is able to play. He's always hurt, but Gronkowski will get you, he had 120 points last year, perfectly fine for that position. You look across the board, you're hurting to get 120 by a lot of tight ends. So definitely a nice position player for him. So the number 4 spot goes to Chaos and Farrell's team. Number 3, we have the Motor City Machine Guns, and that is Laurent Tanner. And Laurent has maneuvered a lot of players, just like Berge has. Lots of different trades, lots of moving pieces. Again, if I'd have done this deal a month ago, things would have been a whole lot different. But if you look at starting quarterback, he's going to start Lamar Jackson. Lamar's definitely taken a little tumble from that number 1, number 2 spot where was perched, but he's still easily a top 5, top 6 quarterback. And, he put up 400 points last year, which again, like I said, if you get 340, you're looking good. 400 is definitely nice and a nice total also. Running back position, he's got Chris Carson, Zeke Elliott, newly acquired Darrell Henderson, David Montgomery. So he's running 4 deep. He's got Tony Pollard backing up Zeke if he goes down. Jamal Williams also in Detroit, another guy that could probably get a couple games out of it if you need to. So nice running back stable there for Laurent. Wide receivers, we've got Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, which I love, Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown, again, like I said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think any piece of that you can get They're probably going to blow up this year, barring an injury to Brady. Corey Davis has looked really good in the preseason. Might be the number one receiver for the Jets. So while the receivers outside of Keenan Allen might not blow your socks off, again, I love Deontay Johnson. Antonio Brown, I think, should be good. This team is going to be tough. And when you're starting Zeke, Carson, and Montgomery, with Henderson as your RB4, that's nice. Tight end wise, he's got Mark Andrews, also top 4, top 5 tight end. So he's got that position locked down as well. He's got Noah Fant as a backup. Got a couple guys on the taxi squad, Nico Collins and Tylan Wallace, that I like. So team is in good shape, and I got him poised at the number 3 spot for the depth as well as the star power that he has with Keenan Allen, Zeke, and Chris Carson, Lamar Jackson. So got a lot of star power and got a lot of depth. So Motor City is going to be my nemesis again in the division as we battle out the season. So the number 2 spot is the champ is back, the champ is back. Edlinger got the quarterback that everyone dreams of, Patrick Mahomes. You're welcome. Also gave Chaos his quarterback. You're welcome. So I seem to draft good quarterbacks and then just trade them to other people. So I'm probably going to have to trade Trevor Lawrence here soon, since I drafted him, trade him on somebody else. But anyways, Mahomes, 484 on the point total, second last year. So, again, quite a step over the 340 where you want to be. Patrick Mahomes definitely gives you that edge at that quarterback position. Edlinger's got a few of those points. He has probably the best lineup in the league, starting lineup. What he lacks is a little bit of depth. And even that he's maneuvered a little bit to have a little bit of depth. But what he has is superstar power. And we all know that he's got a team that on any given week is putting up 220, 230. And that's tough to beat. Especially when you're playing, you go to look at the Thursday game and you have the Kansas City Chiefs playing and you're down 95 points before you even play on Sunday. So that's fun. But yes, the team is very good. Won 3 out of the 4 leagues, and it's obvious why. That goes without saying that some of these guys are getting up there in price, getting up there. A couple of guys are getting up there in age. It won't last forever, and he's trying to ride it out as long as possible. When you look at the running back position, Alvin Kamara is the stud on the roster, and probably the only super running back worth playing. But at 327 points last year, that's a player and a half. If you get like 200 out of a guy, that's good, and you get 320 out of a guy, you got a player and a half out of him. So Alvin Kamara, not to mention he's $6. He's untradeable in this league, in this format. He's not only going up $1 a week. AJ Dillon's a nice RB2. Phillip Lindsay, an RB3 in there potentially if he gets to start in Houston, might even jump over AJ Dillon. But guys that he can play. Chances are he goes with Kamara as one back. Maybe goes 4 receivers. Maybe throws AJ Dillon in there. Has options. But the big ones on the roster are Phillip Lindsay, AJ Dillon, and Alvin Kamara. Bunch of trash after that. Devonta Adams, again, like I said, you got a player and a half in Alvin Kamara. You got a player and a half in Devonta Adams, 295 on the point total. Maybe not quite player and a half, but close. I mean, if you get a 200-point wide receiver and you're getting 295, you're getting the 300 out of him. And that's player and a half. Also playing with a chip on his shoulder this year. Also playing with Rodgers, who's playing with a chip on his shoulder this year. It's going to blow up again. Probably 300 points this year. So going to be hard to fight off. The champ is back again. With guys that are playing with that chip on their shoulder that are trying to blow things up. But outside of Devonta Adams, got Tyreek Hill, 278 points last year. Another player and a half. So you got 3 guys that are a player and a half. You don't really need a lot of depth. All you got to do is not get injured. And that's how he's won 3 out of the 4 first titles that we've had, is because he hasn't got any injuries. He's avoided the injury bug completely. So anyways, when you got Devonta Adams, Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, next guy he's got Jerry Jeudy, who wasn't great last year, but he wasn't terrible. Everybody just saw what Justin Jefferson did. And then all of a sudden, what everybody else did didn't matter. and Justin Jefferson definitely blew up last year. Jerry Jeudy is probably going to have a decent, way better year this year. So I look for him to make that step, probably closer to a 200-point wide receiver. Jamar Chase, maybe he has a Jerry Jeudy year from last year. Maybe he just comes right out of the gate and has a Justin Jefferson year. Even if he has a Jeudy year last year, he's still going to be good. So, I mean, you're starting Chase, Jeudy, Hill, Adams, and that's a good starting lineup to go with Alvin Kamara. And then you got Travis Kelce at tight end, the best tight end in the league. So this team is going to be tough to stop again. Added a little depth with Amari Rodgers on his bench. You know what I mean? So not a lot of depth. You know, there's not a ton of depth here, but there's some. There's Amari Rodgers. There's A.J. Dillon. There's Phillip Lindsay. So he's got some guys that can play. Kendrick Bourne, another one he can play. So he has some depth. So if any of you guys think that Edlinger's falling off this year, I wouldn't count on it. So, I mean, I hate saying that because, I mean, that's the guy that we all are trying to beat every year. And it's a tribute to him that he's built a good team and a good roster, and he sustained it for the first 4 years. That's what a dynasty is. It's not winning one championship, it's winning championships. And he's done that. Definitely trying something I'm trying to model my team after. I just got to get there first. And that brings us to the number one team in the league. Biased or not, is definitely the Chicago Fire. And I can trump my team up all I want, and you guys can knock it down as much as you want to. But when you look at the roster, it is deep, it is young, it is cheap, and it is good. It is a team that I went 14-2 with last year, and I lost Cam Akers to an injury, and I don't feel like it hurt that much. So I just stuck him on a taxi squad, and I couldn't use all these guys anyway. So he'll just sit there for a year. Quarterback position, Kyler Murray. They have him as the number 3 quarterback overall coming out this year. Russell Wilson, they have the number 6 quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, they have the number 10 quarterback. So I've got 3 top 10 quarterbacks for the year on the roster. Lawrence going to sit on the taxi squad the entire year. There's no reason to pull him up barring an injury. I'll write out Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, who put up 460 and 470 points last year. I expect a lot of the same. The both good quarterbacks, both good receiver cores for both of them. I expect good point totals at that position. Running back position, I think, is second only to chaos. Farrell has, to me, one of the greatest, running back combos in our league. I have more of them, just not at the level that he has. I have Dalvin Cook, who's definitely a top 2, top 3 running back. After that, I have Jonathan Taylor, who's also top 5, top 6 quarterback. Then it drops off a bit, but it's still really good. You got DeAndre Swift. I've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I have James Robinson. I have Kareem Hunt. James Robinson is a beneficiary of Garrett's injury to Etienne. He is now the RB1. So now, I mean, I picked him up in the free agent in our auction, and with mainly just to hold him so nobody else could use him against me. And now he's a very likely starter for me for most of the year. He was a 220 point running back last year. I don't know if that's sustainable or not, because I'm sure they'll use other players to help him out. But he was very, very good the entire year. So it's hard not to play that guy and get him in your lineup. So the difficulty with this roster is going to be decide who to start and who to sit every week. And again, I've named off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs, and that doesn't even count Cam Akers, who would have been the 7th. So it makes it hard to pick your lineup every week. It's a good problem to have, but it definitely is a problem, especially when you're leaving 25, 30-point games on the bench. Wide receiver position, we got that Justin Jefferson, as earlier stated, one of the top wide receivers last year. I think he's going to have another year again, blowing it up again. Pairing him with DK Metcalf, who I gave up the house to get. Those two are young. They're very, very talented. They're amazing, and they're going to blow up. So having those two alone, pairing them with 3 running backs, that's a tough game for anybody to play against me in a given week. Get an injury, I got T. Higgins, I got CD Lamb, I got DJ Moore, I got Michael Pittman, I got Robert Woods, loaded at the position. So got Jalen Reagor, another guy, definitely going to stay on the taxi squad, but with him. So loaded at the position. This team is young, this team is cheap, and this team is very, very deep. Get to the tight end, have the number 2 tight end overall in Darren Waller, have probably the number 4 tight end overall in Kyle Pitts, probably have the number 6 tight end overall in Irv Smith Jr., 6 or 7. So loaded at that position where 3 years ago I didn't have any. So, I've definitely rebuilt at that position. This team is very young, very good, and it is going to be a very interesting year for all of us. We're going to have some battles. There's going to be games won that nobody expected. There's going to be games lost that nobody expected. And I think this could be a good year for all of us. I'm excited to get things started. Hope you guys like the rankings. I'm also going to share that ranking system that I entered in. I will share that to our Facebook Messenger post, so you guys get to see that and see where they had everybody ranked. Is pretty close to where I had everybody ranked before I even entered it in. It was pretty close, actually. I was kind of amazed I was that spot on for it. But anyways, that's the rankings for today, and hope you guys enjoyed it and have a good day. This is Richard Keck for All Things Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.